Go ahead.
We have, Tracy knows, we have a special edition newsletter. That was a beautiful newsletter that went out today.
Oh,
No, it's
Did
going out
everybody see
tomorrow.
the newsletter? That's right. Did everybody see today's newsletter that went out?
no.
It didn't go out today.
Oh, we
It's
didn't
going-
get, no. We had our newsletter go out today. The regular newsletter went out today. This
It
week's
yesterday.
newsletter.
No,
Yes,
not
you-
yesterday.
Oh, yesterday. That's
It
right.
was
I lost today.
Yeah.
Sherry knows why I lost today, but
Uh-huh.
anyway, that's great. And that was a beautiful newsletter, but we've been working hard to get this special edition out. The special edition newsletter that we're sending out has some exciting news in it. We wanted to make it special and separate because we've got to have attention. And one of the things, the attention that we ask for is member participation.
Okay.
Member participation. We have such vision right now with everything that's going on. We have such wonderful, wonderful plans for what we're bringing here into this world. And we want to be able to make sure that everybody's aware of that. Read that newsletter. We're going to look forward to hearing what you have to say about it. The special edition coming out tomorrow, Thursday. So exciting news. Yes, Lori.
I got an email this afternoon that was really exciting about the QAA trial study. Is that what you're talking about? Or is that a different thing?
Did you send that out separate? See, I have to check with our VP
There was
Communications,
an
Tracy.
email for the VIP members, and they had choices.
Oh, no, that
and-
was very special offer for you to take a look at what you want to do for your HHS. The
Well,
donation you provided if you want to switch that donation.
Can I ask a quick question? I
Of
want to be
course.
a part of both studies. I donated for both the bracelet and the pendant, and I also have the HHS that I
Okay,
have.
beautiful.
Can I be a part of both studies?
Yes, you can. Golden Lori, yes, you can. You're in the top of everything. You're
But
part of
I
everything.
just want to know how to make that clear. I don't know. I didn't
Okay.
see a link on there for that.
Sherry's got that answer for you.
Okay.
Whenever you get that email, open it up and there's going to be some links in there.
Yeah.
Make sure you click on that link. And as soon as you click on your choice or whatever you want to do, I get a copy of it and I'll make sure that your account reflects.
In your case, you just select HHS, Lori, and you're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because they've already updated my personal page that shows that I have those donations. So,
Perfect.
and the size is right and everything. So I just
You're good to go.
click on the HHS thing. Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks,
Thank
Lori.
you. Thank you. Thank you, Tracy. I think there was one other thing I was supposed to say, Tracy. Do you remember?
You didn't tell me.
Was it membership?
Well, while they're trying to think, I really enjoy seeing everybody. I recognize all these names. Like I recognize Lori and I recognize Cynthia and Danielle and Helga. I recognize all these names because I work in support and I help with all the finances and the billing. And if you have issues with your account, I'm the one that's doing it.
Sherry
hi.
is also VP and Sherry is also a board member like Christine. Hello, Christine. I see you're here. So we've got a lot of attention happening here. Thank you. And Kelly, no, it was not about membership. We are right here on the cusp of closing the doors once again, and you'll get another announcement about that when that happens. Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Tracy. Thank you, Kelly. I'm
Awesome.
gonna mute. Okay.
Okay. You guys ready to kick it off? Let's go ahead and get into coherence with each other. So I'm going to ask one more time if any of you guys will please turn on your cameras, because literally seeing smiling faces just raises the frequency of this collective. And I just got chills on that one, so I know it's true. All right. So what we're going to go ahead and do is inhale, love, joy, peace, health, happiness, and prosperity. and just exhale any stress, doubt, worry, fear, anger, and frustration. And now put your hands, like your right hand on your tummy and your left hand on your heart, and just take another inhale of love and then release it. Inhale for joy and release. And inhale peace. Awesome. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I am together with my friend and co-host Kelly, and today we're going to talk about change. So, 2 times ago, we talked about check, and many of you shared your beautiful practices of how you check in with yourself daily, and that is awesome. And then last time, we moved on to change. Check, choose. No, choose. Today's change. And so you were asked to choose an area of your life that you want to work on, and then choose like a practice or a habit that you want to incorporate to your life. And I gave you a lot of examples of things that I have done recently. This has been a transformational year for me because I'm turning 60 in a couple weeks. And so when I had my 59th birthday, I was like, oh, shoot. I want to make some changes so that I can enter my golden years better. And so I can, Cynthia had that phrase last year, better and better and better again. And so I feel like we are a work in progress and we are always working on ourselves. And in quantum physics, if it's not growing, it's dying. Nothing is stagnant, right? Everything is just shifting and moving along the path. So we are creators of our own future. And so I choose to grow. And so I will get more into that in a minute. But I want to share a quick story with you. So my husband, he lives in a box. I mean, he is so habitual with everything he does. When we take a weekend getaway, which we don't vacation, but we go away to the beach once a year, it's the same thing. He wants to go to the same restaurant, stay at the same hotel, have the same everything. And if we go on a date night, it's one of 2 restaurants. And he just lives in this little box and he jokes around when I complain and he goes, well, at least you're in it. And I'm like, okay, fair, well said. I'll take that. But this last Friday, it's his birthday this week. So what I did was a year ago, I had bought him a gift certificate for this little day spa to get a massage. And it was because I wanted to go there myself and I knew he wouldn't go without me. And so we just kept putting it off, and putting it off. And then finally, this last Friday, I took the day off work, or at least half a day, and we went to Carmel Valley, which is about an hour away, not far. And so the first thing we did when we got there, because I planned the day, is we went on a hike on a place to a park that we've never been to, and it was beautiful. And then we went to a cafe, a restaurant we'd never been to, and we had a delicious meal. And then we went to this day spa and had a wonderful experience, something new. I'm telling you guys, on the trip home, my husband was elated.
Oh.
It's like he got out of his box and he felt this exuberant joy. I can't even explain it. We had the best conversation on the way home. And the journey I began about a year ago, I called it the countdown to 60. Now all of a sudden he's inspired and he's like, the way he felt, he wanted to anchor it. He wanted to save that feeling. And that is my goal for you today, is to help you get out of your box and to change the things in your life that will bring you that exuberance, that will light you up. And I'll tell you another little story. So years ago, about 10 years ago, I wrote a book. And I was so excited every morning to get up and write that I'd get up at like 4 o'clock in the morning naturally. I just couldn't sleep. I was so excited. And to be honest, I'm kind of still that way because I love my job and I can't wait to see, what's happened while I've been sleeping. And so anyhow, I just really want to encourage you guys to work on yourselves daily and know that you have that power. Okay? You have the power to choose what you want your life to look like. And so we've already had check. So we know we want to check in daily. We want to choose what we want to work on each and every day. And then we can incorporate change because the change is actually the bridge to the last point, which is to create. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and start this. So I'm going to try something. Kelly, help me out here because last time when I tried to do like the slideshow, it was cut off. So I'm going to try it again and see if it will work today.
Okay.
Okay. So let's do play from start. Can you see that?
Yeah, it's full screen. Yeah.
Full screen. Okay, great. This is much better. All right. So today we're going to talk about change. All right. So the goal here is not to be overwhelming because I know I'm a lot. And I posted in Telegram last week. It's like you are too much for some people and those aren't your people. But I know that everybody at QHS is my people because I feel like we are family. We are tight. I love meeting with you guys. So that is one of the highlights of my day is just seeing you and hearing your stories. So the goal here though is to stack small wins. It's called the compound effect. And Darren Hardy wrote this great book called The Compound Effect. And essentially what you're doing is taking one habit at a time, getting really good at it so that you no longer really need to think about it. Okay, so you just stack them. And that's what I've been doing this last year is just changing my habits. And so I have this thing that I wrote about this in my book 10 years ago. It's called crowded out. And so what happens when you remove something from your void, you leave empty space. And so what's going to happen is that empty space needs to be filled. So do you want to choose what you fill it with, or do you want the universe to fill it with something else, or your subconscious to fill that void? All right. So I feel that the easier thing for me that I've noticed when I was coaching is I would have my clients crowded out, meaning that they're pushing something out of their life by replacing it with something better. So for instance, for me, I used to eat chocolate like every day. Okay, big confession with that. But I would have like a little square and then it would be so tasty that I'd want another square and then another and then another. And I shared that last week with you guys or last time. And so what I did was I decided once my last chocolate bar was gone, I'm like, okay, this was last year. I'm like, I'm going to crowd it out by replacing it with a chocolate protein bar. So that way I'm achieving my protein intake goals with something that tastes good because it's chocolate, but it's not going to spike my blood sugar. And so the next thing is you want to practice this daily so that it becomes a ritual and you do it, easy without even thinking about it. So for me, one of my rituals is I drink a gallon of water. And a new ritual that I only started when we were in the last focus group is I charge all my water with the touch. And so now when I fill up a glass jug, it's a 64-ounce glass jug of water, I just always know it goes to be charged first before it goes in the refrigerator. And the other thing is we don't want to white knuckle it, okay? You don't want it to be hard. You want it to be easy. So Cynthia has a catchphrase that she says with grace and ease. And then you'll allow it to come into you and you won't be white knuckling and that will create resistance. Okay. So you want to find something that you're excited about, that makes you happy, that you want to work on, not something that you feel like it's going to be dreadful. Okay. So I'm going to stop this really quick and see who I'm going to talk to a couple people and see what that means to you. What is that whole thing about stacking your habits? And then also when you're sharing, you can probably talk about what one thing that you're working on that you committed to last week. Anybody? No? Okay, then I'll move. Oh, Cheryl, cool.
I'll just jump in. I wanted to preface it with the fact that I start my day asking the Holy Spirit to be in charge of my day, first of all. So I feel that what that means for me is that I'm really tuning into my intuition versus what my brain is telling me that I need to do on a given day. And so what I've found is, like, as an example, yesterday, um, I was really intending to, work on my desk, which if you could see it here, it's like Clutter City. Um, but what happened was we had this torrential rain for the last 3 days. And it was yesterday, though, was clear. And so my intuition was that, okay, before rain comes, I need to get up on the roof and rake all of the crap off. So which is what I ended up doing. And I felt like, okay, that was really my intuition, playing the major role for me. So I felt like that was the important thing. Anyway,
Be careful on the roof, Cheryl.
well, it was dry, and I was very careful. I've got my gripper shoes, and I'm never hasty, So it's
That just scares me. I don't think I would ever get on the roof. So you got one on me. Awesome. Thank you for sharing, my dear. Okay, just a couple more. All right, Kat.
There we go. I start every morning with writing in a gratitude journal and thanking Divine for everything that they do for me and my whole team. And what I've also been doing lately is also going into the Akashic Records recently. I've been doing that like 3 or 4 times a week. And it really is helping me because I realize some things that I've never understood why this was happening in my life, whatever it was. And all of a sudden, I got this huge insight because they gave me the background of the story that I just knew this part. And then I heard the rest of it. So I've been getting a lot of aha moments in the morning. And that's something I just started doing in the last week or so. So it really does help me to understand. Sometimes the question is, I just ask, what do you want me to know? It could be as simple as that. And it's been pretty profound. I was kind of blown away because, here I think I know a lot of things about my life and a lot of things about some of my past lives, but I get to hear more. And so I've been doing that. But also my thing I was working on from the last time was getting to bed by 11 o'clock. And I have been doing a very, very good job of that. And sometimes because of the solar flares and the changes in the touch and things like that, I have not been sleeping as well. But I still am in bed when I'm supposed to be. And I'm falling asleep most of the time between, between 10:30 and 11. So I'm proud of myself for that. So I think when you're talking about how this was make it graceful and not like cringing at things, that really is important because I noticed that if there was something that I was making myself do and I didn't want to, that would be a frustration, I think. So I think this is a lot more, having it with grace and ease is a really smart idea when we're picking things, I think. So
Cool. Yes, I agree. And that's one of the questions I say, tell me something you want me to know in a way I can understand.
yes.
I think like a 5th grader sometimes. So I needed break it down. Awesome. Thank you, sweetie. Christine, where'd you go?
She was there 1 second and she
I'm
just
still here, but I
disappeared.
lowered my hand. You want me to put it back up so I stay at the top?
Yeah, thank you. There
How's
you
that?
go.
See me now?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, I can't really hear you guys though, but you can hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So I had a very challenging year. I normally wouldn't say this in a large group, but I had a stroke 2 Augusts ago, and it was a complete left side, had a thrombectomy and everything. You would consider that to be a terrible experience, but I was safeguarded with all the technology and with my connection with God. I went through it amazing. But everybody in my family was afraid. So they've kept me for a whole year, keep holding me down, holding me down, holding me down, because they didn't even want me to drive by myself. They were so afraid something would happen again. And so when it came time to start stepping up after a year of being okay, I mean, you know, I went to cardiac rehab to get out of cardiac failure and all of these other things too. And I had to get back in the habit of doing the things I used to do. So I didn't have to add anything new in, but I had to get in the habit of doing them again instead of feeling like, oh, I shouldn't do that. And that's what I've been doing the last 4 months. And it feels so good to be in that type of change, to be in that type of choosing, and to be in control of my reality. I knew I had the control the whole time, but I was protecting my family, and now they have to let me go. So it was a big
Aw.
deal, and it was tiny steps, like you said. Just every week I'd add one more tiny thing back in and do that for that week, and then the next week I'd add one more thing in, so they didn't get overwhelmed that I did everything all at once.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm so happy for you, my dear. Well, God has big plans for you, and you know that. So very cool. Okay, real quick, let's do two more since we have two more hands, and then we're gonna go ahead and go to the next section. Lane?
Okay, so I chose to have a buddy system to hold me accountable. That has worked very well. And to have my exercise program, I wanted a trainer, and now I have one. So
Woo!
that's my deal. Yes, yes. So I'm gonna look smart prequel and post Q arc. That's my game plan. So that's it. Thank you.
Nice. Thank you, Lane.
So much more.
That's awesome. Okay, Susan, you can wrap us up here.
Yeah, I had said that I was going to walk at least a mile every day. And the next 3 days it rained, of course. So I had to come up with other things to do during that time, which would be the same amount of exercise. And there were other times when I couldn't get out to walk. I live on a highway, and it's not exactly a good thing to be walking along this highway. So I usually go somewhere else and walk. So some of the things that I did put in place instead of was trimming the fruit trees up and down the ladder, and and getting around and hauling branches, etc., which I thought was probably a whole lot more exercise than walking the mile. But I tried to just insert something else, which would be an equivalent of walking a mile. But I did get 3 days of walk in this week.
Awesome. Wow.
So I'm real
You
happy.
trimmed fruit trees in the rain?
Well, no, it was after the rain. It was still pretty wet out there, but it was after the rain.
Good for
It
you.
rained for 3 days, and then I had 2 days off, and then we had another day of rain. But yeah, I just kept substituting things inside or outside,
Good for
cleaning
you.
out an attic, that kind of thing.
You know, I'm really proud of you on that. And so for me, I crashed my mountain bike maybe a month ago, and I was in the middle of this 75-day challenge where you had to work out twice a day, two 45-minute workouts. And I could have just said, oh, well, I guess I can't do my challenge. But you guys know me. I said, no way. So the next day I went to the gym and I just said to the trainer, okay, this is what's happening, my knee. So just tell me what I can do instead. I usually take a class. It's a class. I don't have a personal trainer, but anyway, awesome. Okay, let's go back to our show. And this is fun. Okay, so I'm going to share you some examples of things I've done recently. So part of my challenge, so I already talked about crowding out the chocolate candy for a protein bar. Another thing is I don't surf social media. When I go on Telegram, I'm only looking for private messages, okay? Because I get a lot every day. And so I feel like that was the time I needed to give up so I could take a walk and take a break. And so I've been doing a daily walk for probably about the last 90 some days. And so what I did was I just said, okay, I'm not going to look on Telegram anymore or Twitter or anything so that I can have my walk time. And that's when I listen to Alex's replays, and it usually takes 3 days, but it's okay. They're worth it. And the other thing is part of my challenge was I have to read 10 pages of nonfiction. And so I do not turn on the TV. The only time I watch TV at all is with my husband, and we watch like maybe one show 4 or 5 nights a week. So that is how I crowded things out. So I was able to, there's a great quote that says we make time for the things that are the most important to us. And so the things that were the most important to me is getting my reading done, getting my walking in, and eating clean and getting protein to support my workouts. So those are the ways that I have been able to crowd out. So now I just want to know if any of you have used that principle that we talked about last week, crowding things out. Sanjay, you need to unmute, sweetie. There you go.
Hello, everyone. Crowding out started very early for me in this year. Actually started since the beautiful C time, the Corona time, and a lot of people left and gone. So that meant for me, I don't want negative people around me. So that old soul family, and that was a bunch. And it was also a bunch because it was tied to business and surviving. So I had to crowd out by force, by nature, a lot of people. And then it became very, very quiet around me. And then I sent it out to the universe. Well, if I let go my old soul family, the way of nature must have it in it that I must be able to greet my new soul family. And it seems like it happened with QHS.
Aw, that's so beautiful. I'm sorry. I had that same experience during Corona. So I feel your pain on that one, but I'm so happy you're here. I'm so happy everyone's here.
Thank you. And it's when I was lying in bed and I was chatting with my lovely Susan. Are we going in? Are we going into this wow call? And when Cynthia said, "Okay, we are a little crowd," then I put on my things and I put on my computer and thought, "Okay, let's go into there." And and I thought, how wonderful. I know that we all have our issues and our health problems and so on. But what is so beautiful on this QHS and the meditation and when we exchange in the communication is how we are able to stay positive and to bring in positive speaking. And that is really uplifting. That is really something healsome. Something, what I can say, that is what I need in my daily life.
Aw.
There's problems enough, but this
Right.
is really what and how deeper I go in this QHS, how more how much more I feel that things are cleansing within me, in my thoughts, in my heart, in my feelings, in how I look at myself and how I want to give in myself, And so this is a big thing for me and also for my lovely Susan, what has been given to us by this QH healing frequency and there's so much going on. And for like crowding, this is one of the things, like when it comes to people. But like the last 2 months, I noticed, like through the meditation and to the ocean breath and focusing on ourselves, how I started to see what is doing good to me and what is not doing good to me. And I like sweets. I like chocolate and chips and Coca-Cola and all those. I was living, I think we all are sometimes trapped in a box, So that was a part of my box. But since August, I noticed I want to get rid of this chocolate. I want to get rid of this sugar. Until now, I knock on wood, I'm doing a good thing. And you know what? I'm using my whole life asthma cortisone spray, a whole life. And my lovely Susan says, throw that garbage away. That's the most bad thing what you can do for your body. You know how hard that is? If you rely on a medicine which you always grab to, and if you get panic, if you get out of the breath, I mean, I needed 3 of those sprays a month. And something clicked within me, something happened within me that I can say 1 month now, and I put it in my survey. I just did my survey, monthly survey. I just put it in that I didn't use my asthma spray for 1 month.
Yay! That's fabulous. I
Yeah.
used to be asthmatic, and I'm telling everyone this story. I used to be asthmatic, and the more I decided to exercise, I have not had asthma for a very long time. I was able to get it out of my body by challenging my lungs and making them stronger. Everything in our body is, well, not everything, but we have a lot of different muscles in our body that people don't even think about. They think about biceps and their quads and things like that. But, you have a lot of muscles, like your heart is a muscle. And so the more you work it, the more stronger it gets and the less it depends on other things. So I'm proud of you, Sanjay. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you. Thank you for QHS frequency. Thank you, Dr. Alfredo, because I owe it to that frequency which has been brought in the last few months. So this is for me proof. This is for me proof that frequency is working. I have seen that on my Susan. That's why I became member. I observed it. I am very picky. I am very being careful what I take in my life. And I have watching Susan for 1 year, and I've seen progress with her. And that's why I became member, and I can see progress on myself now. So I will keep continuing.
Good job. Good job,
Thank
sweetie.
you.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and go back because now Kelly has some stuff that she wants to share with you guys. Okay, so let's go to Kelly's stuff. All right, girl, you're up.
So when I found out we were doing this topic, not that I didn't know, it was coming up in the 4Cs, right? I thought about it and I thought to myself, change is really hard. And sometimes I think we make it harder than it should be. And that got me thinking about why is change so hard, right? Because whenever we talk about changing, we automatically get this feeling of angst, right? And why? Because we're creatures of comfort and we don't like to change our lifestyles. We don't like to change our diets. We don't like to change our exercise routines. We don't like to change our perspective, right? Our nervous system is wired from a anthropological standpoint to protect us, right? And if we're comfortable, even if our current situation is not serving us, if we're comfortable, our nervous system is don't change the status quo. We're good. Leave it be, right? And so we kind of have to find ways to get around that. Because if something's not serving us, we need to find a way to transcend above that and move past it. And so that resistance is something we have to think about, right? And so what are some of the reasons that people are resistant to change? Well, for me, it comes down to fear, right? Not fear of that going through the actual change, right? Because the transformation process itself can be really rewarding. But when I think about it from a nursing perspective, right, looking from the outside in at patients and their family members, and you could have a patient who's been really sick for a long time, either with something terminal like cancer or something terrible like Lou Gehrig's syndrome or something, right? And you think about, well, what would it mean to that person to be truly healed and well and able to function as a normal human being and get up and do things that normal people take for granted, or to be able to enter a triathlon or something that they've always dreamed of doing, right? But they've lived in this cocoon of sickness and illness and injury and almost even learned helplessness for so long, right? Not of anything of their own doing, but just the situation that they were thrown into, right? And they want to be healed, but it's almost like they have this, how do I say it? Like a resistance to the idea, where not that they don't think that they're worthy of it, but they're afraid. Well, what will my life look like on the other side? Well, they call it my this, my cancer, my leukemia, or whatever the case might be, right? And so they think to themselves, well, now I identify as this, whatever it is. If you take that away from that person, who are they? How do they then see themselves? How do other people see them and interact with them? Or do they have to change their entire lives at that point, right? So it's not the change itself. It's like, well, I can't picture myself on the other side and what that will mean for me. And it's easy as a nurse to look on the other side and be like, well, figure it out as you go along, right? But like I said, we're hardwired to not want to shake up the boat. So for me, especially, and I can relate to what you were saying earlier, Tracy, where you were talking about like how, you're really regimented, I'm not like that at all. I think about going to the gym and working out, and to me, that feels like a punishment. Not that I don't want to be fit and I don't want to be healthy, but the idea of getting onto a treadmill and running on a treadmill or lifting weights, that feels like a punishment to me for some reason. And I don't know why, right? But for me, I had to figure out, okay, well, that's my resistance, right? It's not something that I find joy in. But what do I find joy in? I like to play volleyball. I like to swim. I like to go horseback riding. I like to play frisbee with my sister out in the backyard or run around with the dogs, right? I have to find my way around it. And for me, that's a form of sovereignty, right? And standing in that sovereignty and saying, okay, well, I do want this, but I don't want to do this to get there. So if I want to bridge to that, what's the change that I need to make? So this is what I talk about when I'm saying like, stand in your awareness, right? Be aware of what you really want and how are you going to get there. So if there's something standing in your way, you're feeling a resistance to change, don't automatically be like, no, I'm not doing that. Because I think that's our first response, like, no, thanks. I'm not interested. But really think about it and say, well, why am I feeling this resistance? And I think Christine, if she wanted to jump in here, would probably even agree with me that, like, again, it comes back to fear, right? What are you afraid of? We have to be, if we want to be sovereign individuals, right? We have to be more introspective, and we have to take responsibility for everything that we think, everything that we feel, everything that we put out into the world. And we're talking about change, which is the third portion of the God spark, right? It's really easy to envision a world that you want to live in. It's easy to talk about that if you're able to verbalize what you're envisioning, right? But that last step, that bringing about it, taking those steps, that's the hard part. And that's what we're talking about here. You can't have this beautiful world and talk about it and that not follow through because you're afraid. So if that's like your reason for not moving forward, I think that introspective portion is really important to take into consideration. I was wondering if anybody wanted to share their thoughts on that.
I want to share something with you really quick. So, and what Kelly's saying, I love that she said this, because if you go to Google Maps and you're going to go from your house to another location, you know that they give you options, right? There's more than one way to get from here to here, and everyone needs to choose their path. I happen to like lifting weights, but I can relate to Kelly because back when I quit running 15 years ago, that was my identity. I ran races all the time and I was a big runner, but my body was beaten up from running. And I was like, well, who am I now? And it's something, Kelly, tell me what you think. It's like these limbic loops in our brain. And we used to have this, we used to think that those loops were plastic, that they were hard. And there's a whole science called neuroplasticity, which actually says that you can retrain your brain. So me getting my husband outside of his box actually helped him grow. But all of us are here on a journey. I mean, we came here because we are helping our world grow. We're helping, and it all starts from us. So with what Kelly said, who else wants to share an introspection on what she said? Kat, thank you.
Okay, you said something that I wrote about in a book that I wrote also, is talking about how change is hard. You know what? If you keep telling yourself it's hard, it will be hard. So I always tell myself that change is the only thing we can count on. That's the only thing we can count on.
You're right.
So let's start with that, okay? Because, changing in everything in your body, you change your skin out every, how many days, whatever. You do it naturally. So here's what I look at when I'm looking at the changes. I always say, okay, what is it that I want? And this is going to be fun. I always say that way because, I walk a really long ways in the mornings and the evenings with my dog because I promised myself I'd get 5,000 steps. Sometimes I get 7, sometimes I get 8. But here's the thing. I'm looking at this going, okay, it's starting to get cold here in Colorado at night and in the morning. And I'm thinking, okay, I got to think about another thing. Okay, well, this is going to be fun. All right, what am I going to do instead? So I have an option that I've picked out that is at the gym that I can walk around the gym because I'm with you. Standing on a treadmill does not sound like fun to me. So am I going to pick that option? No, because I don't think it's fun. So my idea is that I'll just walk around the gym. I'll watch the kids play because then I'm not thinking about how long I'm walking. So I look at that as a fun challenge for myself because I want to have fun whenever I'm doing. And I know that I'm going to have to change anyway. So might as well just go along with the whole process. So anyway, that triggered me when you said that. I was like, oh, wait, I got to mention that.
Thank you, Kat.
So thank you for doing that. I appreciate it.
Okay, Cheryl.
I'll just real quickly, like Kat, I have a dog, and any of us who have dogs, of course, know they're creatures of habit. So all of a sudden, the dog keeps you in the box. So what I do virtually daily is I feel like incorporates the change that I need. So the pup and I walk to a beautiful, beautiful woods park hike every day. And so I feel that nature empowers me, but I'm also satisfying that habit that the pup needs. And it's I'm being empowered by the nature, and I'm also, as I'm documenting daily what I do with exercise and consuming things, I'm finding I'm walking, minimally 3 miles, and sometimes it's more like 5 to 6 miles.
Wow.
Just based on steps. And anyway, I
Good
just
job.
love that. Thank you.
Thank you, sweetie. Good job. Okay, Aria.
Hey, so
Do you have your touch on, Aria?
oh yeah, no, it's off.
Oh, okay. I'm hearing a touch, I thought. Go ahead.
Oh no, it was on for a second, but I just turned it off.
Thank you.
One of the things about change that, because last time I said, I was like, okay, I choose to love my entire self, right? To do that, I have to look and I have to face my entirety of myself, every aspect, all avenues, all crevices, all those little dark spots, that, the little attic portions you never go into, there's cobwebs, you have to look at all of that. And the funny thing is that identity consistently changes. We consistently shift and change our identity. We have a core essence of who we are, but what we identify with constantly changes because those things that you identify with, whether it's a disease, whether it's a personality trait, those are just programs. They're just little programs, they're just little aspects of who we are. So, you know, identifying with the core essence and then choosing to go and, you know, really work with that core essence and then work off of that, that makes it a little bit easier in that way. And then the other fun thing is that, like I said, going and choosing to love myself and changing my life based on going internally. So like, for instance, like I've been wanting to organize more, I've been wanting to do more just in my life in general. And doing that has allowed me to, like I said, face those deeper aspects of myself. And a lot of people, like you said, will say it's hard. And like my mother said, you know, she chooses to see it as not difficult, not hard. The only reason that we make it hard is just because we trained ourselves. We allowed our ancestry, our parents, our generational, you know, just our generations, our environment, everything to program us to resist certain things or to allow certain things. And taking control back of ourselves and choosing to say, hey, no, I'm actually going to take control. I'm actually going to do this instead. I'm going to go here, changes the whole aspect. And that's where you get that change. That's where you get that, you know, avenue then of making that, of taking that step and going there and doing that. And it just, it changes the whole outlook to going to that place where you choose what to allow and what not to allow. And that's where I personally go first, because if I don't go there first and I don't go to that deep core and that deep place, the change won't happen. So I have to change the programming first before I go anywhere else. But that's just my process personally. So I go to the core first to then reach out on a deeper level. And then my reality and everything else starts changing because I went to that deeper place.
That's a really good point, Aria, and you kind of jumped ahead in my slides. But
well, I took your slide down because you weren't using it. So I can put it back up, but I don't want to hear from Jessica because we've never heard from her before.
Yeah, please.
Jessica.
Yeah, hi everybody. Very similar to what everybody else said. And that I would add that a lot of these conditionings and programmings, ancestral, karma, however you want to call it, what's in our family lineage, a lot of these things are buried in the subconscious. And so having the conscious awareness, bringing them out into the open. So Kelly, what really resonated with me is the word resistance. When I notice that I am no longer in joy and I am pushing against and like really grinding down in it, and just that resistance is so heavy, I have to stop and pause and examine, what is the thought pattern? What is the belief pattern, and how can I release it? How can I bring it out into the open so then my conscious mind has a chance to make a new choice, to establish a new belief, to establish a new goal, a new way of being that's not, you know, so that whatever I've been entrenched in, I can liberate myself from that. We have the power to do that.
Woo!
That's what I wanted to say.
That was good, Jessica.
Thank you.
I love it. Thank you.
Be one of our co-hosts. Awesome. We are going to have special speakers on this show, by the way, you guys. Thank you for sharing, Jessica. And really quickly, Kelly, I know that you have more to share. So somebody asked how to charge your water, and it's really easy, you guys. You just take a glass vessel, and you can either put your phone on it like this or next to it like this, or you can even open up the touch on your computer and place your glass vessel next to your computer. Okay? All right, Kelly, do you want your slides or do you want to just free flow?
We can just free flow. It's cool. I kind of know where I'm going.
You don't?
So I hope I know where I'm going.
Okay, go ahead.
You know, Aria brought up a good point of allowance, right? And I think that's really important because awareness itself is powerful because it invites, the truth of whoever you are and whatever the situation is to rise to the surface. And the moment that that truth is seen, whatever that is, and that goes back to what you were saying too, Jessica. I hope I'm saying your name right, Jessica. That lie that we've been telling ourselves, that old belief pattern, that the limitation that imposed on us suddenly loses all of its power. I'm going to give you a good example. So my goddaughter, who is now almost in her 30s, goodness, gosh, I can't believe how old she is now. Anyway, when she was just a toddler, her mother had to have her gallbladder out. And that was the days that they actually still cut you open. So I took a week and I went to stay and take care of her daughter because obviously daddy had to work all week to pay the hospital bills. And so she was maybe 18 months old. And I was in their apartment in New York and I was, watching over her and she's playing with some stuff on the floor and I'm cooking something on the other side of the room and I had my back turned and I had something in the oven. And their oven was like an older style oven. And the outside of it was really hot. And all of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye, I see her about to put her little hand, her 18-month-old little hand, on the door of the oven. And I'm on the other side of the room. There were 3 dogs in my way, a basket of laundry that I had yet to get to fold because, I'm not a mom yet, right? I don't know what to do. I'm just winging it, right? And all this stuff in the way. And yet none of that stuff kept me from getting to her and putting her hand on the oven and hurting herself. Suddenly, everything just clicked into place. There were no barriers. I saw the exact route I needed to take, and I just let it happen. And it seems like such a weird thing to say, right? Like, oh, I let it happen that I saved her. And I don't consider it saving her, but she didn't get hurt, right? But in that instantaneous moment, when I saw out of the corner of my eyes the danger that she was in, there was no belief of there being any barriers to me getting to her in time. There were no dogs roaming around. There were no baskets. There was no stray papers. There was nothing that was going to stop me from getting there, right? I just allowed it to happen. And that's happened to me several other times in my life. It's not maybe in such a dramatic way, right? But it's that I think one of the reasons also, in addition to fear, that we fear change, right, is that we're afraid of that expansion, right? And allowing ourselves to experience that. So it's also the experience of moving through the change. And so when you're aware, it kind of opens up the door and you can walk through it. So we have to stop pushing ourselves, kind of like you said, like we've said, right? Like if you're not finding joy in something, stop banging your head against the wall and trying to make it be so. Find another route through, right? And just allow whatever that is to happen on its own. And that's where the flow is. That's where the joy comes back into the process. Thoughts?
I love that you said that. Abraham Hicks always talks about the art of allowing. And we set our intention, we cast that rocket ship of desire, and that's already been received by God, right? By the universe. And all we have to do is stay in that frequency, that joyful expectation of it's already coming. And so I love that you said that, Kelly. All right, you guys, who wants to comment on that? We'd love to hear from you. Aria?
I know, sorry about that. What you said reminded me, and I forgot to say this earlier. You reminded me of something I actually just saw today. It came up on Instagram, and it was something about a group of psychologists. They did a study years ago where they decided to take a bunch of volunteers and put them in front of a mirror in a dimly lit room for 10 minutes to just look at themselves in the mirror. And the results were kind of astonishing. Everyone laughed at first, and then and then some started to see like their eyes darken, or they started to see shadowy figures. They started to see monsters. They started to see like, kind of some heavier stuff, right? And the amazing and beautiful thing about this is that they could barely last 10 minutes looking at themselves, because what happens is that, and this was pure silence, like there weren't any distractions, there was no music, no nothing. And to sit there and to look at yourself in the mirror, to look at your own reflection, whether it's in a camera or a mirror, for even just 10 minutes with like candlelight or a dimly lit room, I think I'm going to actually try this as an experiment, because I want to see how I react. I mean, I'm going to be honest. I have had those moments where even like a few minutes staring at myself in the mirror, I look at myself, and there's been times where I could not handle it. I can handle a lot more now because I've done a lot of inner work, but there were times I couldn't look at myself for more than maybe a minute or two in the mirror without getting really uncomfortable, because you're faced with your authentic self. You're faced with everything. The mirror is literally reflecting all of yourself back to you. So when you look in that mirror, you are looking at yourself. Everything is coming forward. The silence, everything, your fears, your joys, the things that make you sad, angry, all of your trauma, basically everything shows up. And it's the most beautiful thing you can possibly imagine, because your subconscious realizes that you have silence, you have this moment that's just nothing else is going on. So you have this essence of your true self that you get to be exposed to. And it's the most beautiful thing that you can possibly embody and embrace. And I'm really excited to see how we feel before, like going in the Q arc, and then after, and how we'll react to ourselves in the mirror, and how we'll react and be like, okay, I really love myself, because, it is clearing out a lot of that stuff, energetically as well, on those levels from what they've said. But it's just going to be the most amazing experience to be one with yourself to that deep of a level, to your core, to be able to embody that. I think it's just, and so that's just what that reminded me of. So
Kelly, can I comment on that?
Yeah, go
So
ahead.
when I was working with clients, I would most people who came to me were women that wanted to lose weight. Okay. And so what I had them do was stand in front of a mirror, either barely dressed or naked. They get to choose, and work from their head to their toes and create a love bubble to themselves. So starting at the top of their head and having love for every single part of them for who they were right then, right there. Because the reason that I think that's a really fun, good exercise for us is you must love yourself right now where you are now, not wait for the Q arc. But the thing is that way you're raising your vibration, you're raising your frequency, you're creating more joy, you're remembering parts of you that, like things that you did. Like, okay, so for me, I had 3 kids, so I have like stretch marks and, things on my body that don't hang the right way like they used to. But we need to find the love in that and the purpose of that and the joy in that. So that is a really powerful exercise, because you can't pour from an empty cup. You have to fill your love cup up first so you can better serve everyone else. And so when I go to yoga, which I go, I don't know, maybe 5 days a week, they always ask us to set an intention. And my intention is always love yourself right now, who you are, what you've experienced. And I've experienced in my past a lot of things that I look at and I go, gosh, I wish I wouldn't have done that. I'm sure many can relate. But those things are what molded us to where we are now. Okay. So I've always felt like it's about leading with love, loving ourselves and loving all those around us. Okay.
I mean, I don't really have all that much more to say. I guess my biggest takeaway is that when you stop trying to manage the outcome and you just start trusting the process and trusting yourself and trusting that you are exactly where you're supposed to be, doing the exact same thing that you're supposed to be doing at that exact moment, and just allowing these things to happen with a clear vision and intention, the change will come naturally. You won't have to force it. Like Cynthia says, there's the grace in that, right? There's the beauty is that you can just allow it to happen and be so. I remember reading something where if you, like you're talking about loving yourself, right? Love yourself enough to let that change happen for you. Stop looking for things that are resistance, right? It's fine to do some introspection and say, okay, well, why am I here? Why am I thinking this? Why am I being resistant to it? But beyond that, stop coming up with excuses to not change.
Yeah.
Right? We talk ourselves out of things so much more than we just would just let it be.
Agreed. And I love what Christine taught me months and months ago. It's like I was having some shoulder pain and she said, that's not yours. You did not consent to that, and release it. And so if I ever feel anything in my body that I don't like, I just say, that's not mine. And she said one thing I loved. She said, focus on something in your body that feels really good. And then all of a sudden your awareness is off of whatever is not feeling good. And so then you're whole again. So anyways, okay, you guys, we're at the top of the hour, and oh, Shannon wants to say something.
Well, I don't think can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, great. Because I have been, anyway, that's a side note. I have a tendency to, when things are going really well for me, and things are shifting and changing and it's good. I know this is probably childhood trauma speaking or whatever the case may be, but either within a dream or I find something to fill the clean void with something new to worry about. And I noticed that whenever, as a family, we accomplish something that we wanted to experience. And then all of a sudden my head gets filled with, well, what if this thing happens or that thing happens? And I don't know if you have anything to say about how to mitigate or navigate through that, so that just accepting, and I catch it now. I realized that I was doing it, and I finally so I'm able to. I'm like, aha! So I've noticed that when things are kind of going my way, and then or our way, I should say, and then. So anyway, I just want to know what we can say to someone who may be experiencing that too. So it's like you're getting the changes that you want, you're experiencing it, and then you just, in the back of your mind, because of whatever the case may be, you're waiting for the other shoe to drop.
So
So what would
Shannon,
you say to that? Yeah.
most things that we worry about never happen.
Yeah, you're right.
And worry does not take away tomorrow's problems. It takes away today's peace. So always focus on your desired outcome of what you really want and stay aligned to that. And I always, like, you guys may have noticed, but I have Wonder Woman as my face holder or whatever. And so what I always imagined, if there's anything that bubbles up that is not what I want, and it tries to get me off my path of what I do want, I have my Wonder Woman cuffs that I go like this to deflect it, and it goes away. That's just my kind of visualization, but that's what I want to say to that, Kelly.
I agree with you. I think we're our own worst enemies 99% of the time. Not only are we our own worst enemies, but we're also our own harshest critics. So like I was saying before, that we need to just allow things to be. We also need to just allow ourselves to be whatever and whoever we are in that moment. Like Aria was saying, that we need to love ourselves, and you, Tracy, wherever we're at. Nobody is perfect. And that's what makes us so perfectly unique and wonderful all the way around. And so we have to let ourselves grow and change without being so judgmental of ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Perfectly imperfect. I love that quote. Perfectly imperfect. Nobody was perfect except for Jesus. And so we can know that we'll never reach that level, and there's always room for us to get better. So, Kira, you can close us out.
Well, you just touched on it. I was going to bring the God into this and say that what everybody's saying about it's hard to see yourself truly as you are. But if God sees us just as we are, with all our foibles, all our flaws, all our broken, all our greatness. And I feel like I hear sometimes like, why can't you see the way you the way I see you, which is pure divine love. And I just feel like I look at that mirror of the face of God in me, and I try to aspire to be more and more and more in that state of love. And it isn't always easy, but you're here because God loves you. Love you like God loves you.
Ooh, I love that.
That's
Yeah,
a really good point, Kira.
because you are fearfully and wonderfully made.
Right. And God, there's no judgment at all. And we're always forgiven and we're always loved.
Oh, that's so good.
Ah, okay. I just got chills.
Here,
That was beautiful.
Cynthia, did you have anything to add?
I guess not. She didn't. All right, you guys. Well, I want to thank Kelly for being the best co-host, best friend. She always has so much to add. And it's funny because Christina always says I'm the physical part. Like I'm so physical. And everybody else at QHS is so etheric. So I feel like we're a good balance here. And I want to thank you guys for coming. Thank you for loving yourself enough to take the time to grow and, be a part of this beautiful family here at QHS. And I want to thank Cynthia and Sherry for coming and all the other admin that are here. And really, it's beautiful to see your guys' faces. We love you so much and appreciate your presence. And we hope you make it a beautiful day. Let's go ahead and close in my favorite way. Okay. Rubbing your hands together, bringing in that
Say something.
frequency.
You look like you wanted to say something.
Let's
Are
go
you
ahead
talking
and
to me?
bring your.
Yeah,
Okay.
you had that look on your face like you wanted to say
I did.
something.
Thank you. I moved in because I wanted to say thank you, precious ones. This has been so much fun and such a great discussion. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your contributions. It's so important. This is the key to everything. Change.
Agreed.
Be open. Thank you. Beautiful.
Thank you, Cynthia. Okay, Anjali Mudra, up to your forehead. May we think only joyful thoughts. To your lips, may we speak only kind words. And to your heart, may we love ourselves and all of those around us. Peace, peace, peace. Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, you guys, go ahead and unmute and say goodbye.
Goodbye, everybody.
Love you all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody. Bye. Thank you.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone. Love you
Bye.
all.
Bye,
Bye. Have a
everybody.
great day.
Bye,
Bye.
boy.
Bye, everyone.